guys, I'm D-Mac from NBA Fantasy Bible, and along with me is Kayla Fonte. And together we're Between Two Hoops. Kayla, how are you going?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
Doing really well. What a week it's been. Week 12, that's a wrap for the NBA. How'd you go in all of your matchups?
So far, so good. Lost a couple hard ones, but that's okay. I'm a playoff performer. How about you?
Playoff performer. Yeah, we're more than halfway through the season, so things are shaping up nicely. I've done really well over the last few weeks, and most of my leagues, except there's one glaring omission, but most of my leagues I'm actually doing really well. There's one I think I'm maybe dead last, which is pretty disappointing, but that's okay. Can't be good at all of your leagues. But today we've got a couple of episodes. First one being buy lows and sell highs. Shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Okay, headlined by Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Green, but let's just review just some of the most traded players over the last 48 hours. So yesterday, the number one most traded player was Larry Markkinen. Number two was Jimmy Butler. They're the same two that we spoke about last week as well on the last episode. And now we look at the most traded today so far. Jimmy Butler's there, and he will ever present be there. But Desmond Bane as well. And we'll speak about Desmond Bane as one of our sell highs later on in the show. But there's a few interesting names on that list.
hmm Even Kawhi Leonard, that was an interesting one for me because now that he's back, I mean, he's only played a couple of games, but he's starting to get some value. So I think managers are just worried about him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I think similar vein would be Zion Williamson. He's just come back. We just can't trust his health long term. He looked awesome, absolutely fantastic when he came back. Then got suspended, not following some, team rules as well, rocking up to practice late as well. So not setting the high standard there for him and his teammates. But yeah, he looked really good in his return game. But I would be looking to offload him as well. So number 3 on the list, Joel Embiid seems to be on this list a lot. So no great surprise, but it really does come down to, and I get a lot of questions on Twitter, who would you rather in a trade? But it really does come to a few factors. Who are you obviously acquiring in a trade, but also how does it fit your team, particularly in a category build? But we'll go through that later on. But yeah, just some intriguing names on that list. Paolo Banchero as well looked absolutely awesome in his return game. So selling high on a few of these guys, and we will go through our own sell highs and buy lows. But starting with buy lows, Donovan Mitchell. Headlines, and we'll go through line by line. For those that are familiar with our show, we'll take you through some of the stats over the last week, fortnight, and month, and just see where that value is when it comes to buy lows and sell highs. But Donovan Mitchell, Mikal Bridges, his teammate OG Anunoby, to name a few. But let's get into the first one, Donovan Mitchell. Just look at the numbers over the last week. He's ranked 203rd in 9cat. Again, thank you very much to #basketball for these statistics. Make sure you go check out #basketball.com as well. Just to let you know that often I talk about downplaying or downweighting the value of turnovers. So in this instance, turnovers are worth 0.25 or 25% of what they're normally worth. So you may be comparing it to other sites, but this is how Basketball Monster does it as their default. So I do appreciate these rankings. But over the last week, 203rd in 9cat.
Yeah, we talked about this a bit before too, where his numbers have decreased a little bit, but other Cavaliers have stepped up. Some of them who are also on the sell highs list. But it really comes down to his offensive production. His threes have dropped off over the past couple of weeks, even his points as well. For the last 7 days, he's averaging 15. That's not going to stick. He's going to average at least 20. Still, it's a little bit lower than we expect from someone like him. And even his field goal percentage, too, has dropped off. I don't know if we're going to see him get back to his best form this season, just because we've seen how all the other Cavaliers have stepped up. What do you think?
Completely agree. All the other Cavaliers have stepped up. He's shown his maturity in that he's able to take a back seat, and you've seen that the proof is in the pudding. The Cavaliers are on an absolute tear. They're playing some fantastic team basketball, and I don't think he has to be that guy night in and night out, which is great for the Cavs, not great for your fantasy team if you have him rostered. But I still believe he is a buy low just based on what you said. The shooting splits aren't quite there when you compare it to the rest of the season. 203rd compared to 43rd on the entire season. He's not going to get back to close to first round value like he was last season, but I still think he is a buy low right now. Next guy on our buy lows list. Oh, before we get to that, Just having a look at some trades over the last 24 hours for Donovan Mitchell, and I'll take you through line by line, but I'd love to get your opinion on some of these, Kayla. Now, Donovan Mitchell
Mm.
or Steph Curry?
I'd probably be leaning Steph a little bit. I believe he is ranked slightly higher on this season, so I'm going Steph.
Go Steph there. What about LeBron?
LeBron worries me. I mean, he's a little bit older. Yes, he's one of the best players in the league, but I'm going Don.
Yeah, take it easy with that older stuff. He's my age. He's just turned 40, but yeah, he looks amazing. Yeah, Don, I don't know. Maybe I'd go with LeBron there. But Donovan Mitchell or Tyler Hero?
I'm going Donovan.
Donovan, Don, or a combination of Brunson and Drew Holiday?
Honestly, I would take Brunson and Drew.
Yeah, I would too, irrespective of the size of the league. I think that's some fantastic value there. Donovan Mitchell for Pascal Siakam and Cole Anthony is obviously selling high on Cole Anthony, or a bit of just a supplementary piece. Don for Siakam.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Cole Anthony just for like the whole season. I know he's having a good stretch right now, but I'm going Donovan.
Donovan there. Donovan for Larry Markkinen and Anthony Simons. I think you know where I'm going because I just want to avoid Markkinen altogether.
Yeah, I'm going Donovan too, but Simons is very enticing.
Very enticing right now, but we'll speak about Anthony Simons a little bit later on as to why we think he's a sell high. And finally, Donovan Mitchell for DeMar DeRozan and Rudy Gobert.
Donovan.
Donovan. Okay, so that just shows you that there's some pretty interesting, intriguing trades going on right now and some sell highs, but he's still maintaining some of his value and perceived value as well for some of those trades. Next one, Mikal Bridges, absolute nightmare game. A couple of games ago, 0 points, 0 on 9 shooting, got booed at Madison Square Garden, which is not great. That's his home team and his home team fans. But yeah, I think it's an absolute buy low opportunity for him.
I think so too. These kind of things happen to players every once in a while, especially when you're in a stacked starting lineup like the Knicks. I think a lot of people were also panicking once they saw that stat line and they were eager to trade him and things like that. But yeah, he's a buy low. I mean, 10 points per game. He's averaging 17.6 this season, so that'll come up. Even the threes, too. His defensive stats are down. We know that's what he's kind of known for. Even the field goal percentage, too. Like 30%, not going to stick. So.
Yeah, in a straight 9 cat where turnovers are worth 100%, as they are, but like I said at the outset of the episode, I like to downweight them. But yeah, his per game ranking doesn't look as good as it probably does in other sites. But yeah, for me, he's not as valuable as a lot of other guys that will get those turnovers but do a little bit more elsewhere. But yeah, just looking at the field goal percentage, even the free throw percentage is quite unusual. I mean, that's been across the season. Low volume, having said that, low volume, but still you'd like it to be above 80%, even on that low volume. But yeah, a lot of room for improvement. So Mikal Bridges is another buy low. His teammate, OG Anunoby, what's been going on over the last month for him?
I think it's the same thing with like Mikal Bridges, just a couple of struggles here and there. Even the team as a whole, they've had some issues. The defensive stats haven't been there. That's also what he's known for too. The points are down, three slightly down. He's a good 3 and D guy, but lately just hasn't really been playing up to that role. It's the same case as Mikal Bridges too, where that he's not like the most fantastic player out there, but you still expect something slightly better than how he's performing.
Yeah, the minutes are still there, so I'm not worried about his role whatsoever. It's just some of those deflections aren't going to him, so those steals are down, and that's not the only reason why we have OG Anunoby on our teams, but that's one of the reasons why, and so that does impact his value a lot. Next guy, J-Dub, he was on our list last week. I still think he's a buy low, heading in the right direction, but still a lot less production than what we're used to or what we saw at the commencement of the season.
Yeah, this has been a little bit disappointing too, especially after he was ranked as a first rounder for the first couple of weeks after Chet Holmgren went down with an injury. And while I'm not expecting first round value from him, it's certainly higher than outside the top 50. Like at least for me, like a lot of people were drafting him in like the third-ish round. I don't know if we can expect a lot higher than like the 20 points per game, couple of rebounds, assists, even the defensive production too. That's been slightly surprising. He's doing better in blocks than his season average, but still I expected just a little bit more. But I think a lot of it comes down to just to his percentages.
Yeah, I'd agree there. Do you think Chet Holmgren's return, and it's not going to be for a while, but do you think his return will impact him down the stretch?
I think it will. I could see his rebounds going down a little bit more, but it could also help him offensively too.
Yeah, it may stretch the floor. I know Chet Holmgren's a lot different of a player than Isaiah Hartenstein. I think Hartenstein and Holmgren can play together, but yeah, that should open things up for J Dub and a lot of the other players. But at the moment, they're just rolling the Thunder, so they look fantastic. Rudy Gobert, again, we spoke about him on our last episode, but he's still a buy low.
Oh, for sure. And like it's just free throw percentage. I mean, he's not a great free throw shooter, but when you're looking at 27% over the past 7 days, and that's across 4 games too, that's a major factor as to why he's a buy low. Because like his blocks are looking great, rebounds are fantastic, field goal percentage looks okay, points are slightly down, but his assists are up. So it's mainly coming down to that free throw category.
He's been quite inconsistent with his blocks. There was one game where he got 6 blocks. That was about a week ago
Mhm.
because we spoke about that about 5 days ago. So he just came out with a 6 block game. But yeah, sometimes he does go a little bit quiet offensively, but even some defensive games as well, he does go a little bit quiet. But I still think there is room for improvement and some buy low opportunity once again for Rudy Gobert. Next one, James Harden. Again, we spoke about him, but the Clippers have barely played in the last week, so I think that buy low remains.
Yeah, exactly that. A lot of games have been postponed due to the fires. So that's why he's only played 2 games over the past 7 days, and why he's continued to be a buy low.
Yeah, just want to acknowledge those. Hopefully, everything is all under control, but it's something to be mindful of as well moving into this week. The
Mm.
Clippers and the Lakers have quite a few home games scheduled, so just be mindful of that. So, yes, he's a buy low, but perhaps if he just wanted to wait a little bit, maybe that wouldn't be the worst idea. But yeah, hopefully, everything is under control for everyone's sake. And shout out to our good friend Dan Besbris as well. I know
Mhm.
that he's been impacted. Next one, Alperen Şengün. This one, again, similar to Rudy Gobert, comes down to free throw percentage.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're looking at the other stats here, like everything looks good or
Look at
better.
those
Like even the
points. Yeah.
points, almost 30 per game over the past 2 games. So that's a smaller sample size, but still significantly higher than his 19.3 for the season. Like the rebounds are also up, assists are up. Steals and blocks are slightly down over the past 7 days. But yeah, it really comes down to the free throw percentage.
Yeah. So buy low in a category sense, not a
Mhm.
buy low in a points league. But yeah, it really does come down to your league format there. But buy low just because of the free throw percentage. And of course, if you're punting free throws, it does not matter whatsoever. DeMar DeRozan, his renowned efficiency just hasn't been there probably across the entire season, but particularly over the last month.
Yeah, and even throughout the season too, he's been a little bit up and down. We talked about him as a buy low a couple of weeks ago too. I believe there he was ranked like around the 200 mark. So that was rough. At least here he's doing a little bit better, but the buy low window is still very open.
Points are up over the last few games, and that's because De'Aaron Fox did miss a couple of games, so he needed to do more offensively, taking more threes, but also impacting his renowned field goal percentage. So, yeah, that has impacted his ranking and his overall value. But yeah, sort of a mid sort of season for him. He hasn't uh,
Mm.
really excited us with his play, but yeah, he's been solid. But I still think he is a buy low. Next one, Devin Vassell. It hasn't really taken off for him. I would like to say he's still ramping up, but he has played 22 games so far. But I still think that he can get a lot better. And what I've done here, not only have I looked at his season averages, his last 30 days, his last 14 and 7 days, but also comparing some of his shooting to last season. 47% from the field last season compared to 42.7% this season. I think there's room for improvement there. And by and large, if that happens to improve, so does his 3-pointers, which is down on this season, as does his points, which is down on this season. Everything else is pretty much the same as where it was at last season.
Yeah, maybe he's just still figuring things out. I mean, the Spurs have kind of changed their team over the offseason, so there's a couple of new additions there. Yeah, I don't really know why he's been like this. Not that he's been extremely disappointing, because like you said, most of his stats are pretty on par to last season. It's just the efficiency, his threes and points are slightly down, but the defensive productions remain about the same. I also think too, don't get too frustrated with him. Yes, he is a buy low opportunity, but don't start dropping. That's been a little surprising to me.
Have you seen many people drop him? I haven't seen any.
I have.
Oh, actually, I did pick him up in a league, actually. So someone dropped him, but that was very early on.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of people, but more so I've just heard around Twitter people asking like, drop suggestions and they've listed Visal as a possible drop candidate. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, yeah, drop him, but I would not.
Yeah, not advisable in a 12-teamer, perhaps in a 10-teamer where you can get a lot of
Mhm.
value off the waiver wire, but in a 12-teamer, I'd persist. So yeah, if you don't have him, I'd be buying low as well. Derek White. We love Derek White, but what's he been doing? The last 7 days, yes, small sample size of 2 games, shooting like crap. But even over the last month, he just hasn't had the same level of production.
Yeah, maybe it just comes down to the star power of the Celtics and I don't know, just having some struggles. Yeah, because that field goal percentage, 14%. Like you said, it is a small sample size, but that's still very discouraging. Three pointers, zero. Even the points, 4.5 per game. That's rough, but I have no doubt that he's going to turn it around.
I know for a fact that Kristaps Porzingis has sort of lit it up in the last couple of games as well. So they're sharing the love. Derek White's had less to do since Porzingis has come back from injury. But I still think like 160th over the last 7 days, that's not going to persist either. So I would expect him to get back into that sort of 50th to top 60 range as well moving forward, even with the plethora of talent on that Celtics team. All right, here we come to the sell highs, starting with Jalen Green. Just look at those numbers over the last 2 weeks, but particularly over the last week, he's just been shooting the lights out.
Yeah, I think some of these numbers are unsustainable, especially the threes, like 4.2 over the past 2 weeks and 5.5 over the past week. That's going to come back down, probably to around like 2.5 to 3 per game. Even the points too. I think that'll come down slightly, but it has helped with Jabari Smith Jr. being out, so I think he's taken on that greater offensive role. Even his steals too over the past 2 games have looked really good, 2.5 per game, but that's going to come back down, especially when he's averaging about 1 per game.
Yeah, he's playing at an all-star level right now. Again, I don't think that's sustainable. We haven't seen it in his entire career. It's great to watch. It's fantastic to watch and exciting for the Houston Rockets. But like you said, unsustainable shooting. So he's going to cool off. It's inevitable. It will cool off. And we have seen some examples of some trades that have gone through where, yeah, it's an absolute sell high and people love him. People love the excitement
Mhm.
factor. So a little bit like what we spoke about with Amen Thompson. And again, spoiler alert, we'll speak about Amen Thompson very shortly, but it's the hype train, it's the media presence as well. So I think sell high if you can. Jared Allen, he's been solid all season, but particularly over the last fortnight, just insane sort of numbers there.
Yeah, he's looked fantastic. Even the efficiency too, like 86.7%. That's just amazing. And he has been really good in efficiency the whole season, but that's going to come down a little bit. The points too, 20.7 per game over the past week when he's averaging 14 on the season. The rebounds have looked really good. He's a double threat. Even the assists are up too, almost 4 per game. And the defensive production looks great. I mean, the only categories that are red here are free throw percentage and threes. The free throw has been a little bit lower than expected, but still, ignoring those two categories, amazing across the board.
Yeah, it's the blocks for me that's really impressive. We expect him to have high field goal percentage. We know that about Jarrett Allen, but the blocks, it was really lacking over the course of the season. But over the last fortnight, it's where we want it to be. 1.8, I don't think is sustainable for him. But those points over the last fortnight, we spoke about Donovan Mitchell being a buyer low, and the scoring slack has sort of been taken upon Jarrett Allen, of course, the rest of the Cavs. But yeah, Jarrett Allen playing at a very high level. So sell high where you can. The aforementioned Anthony Simons, again, been on an absolute scoring bonanza. Is this sustainable?
I don't think it is, not when you're averaging over 5 threes in the past week. That's going to come back down. I mean, he's been a really good 3-point shooter, but I think 5.5 is a little too high. Even the points, too. I think that's going to cool off a bit, but overall, he's been looking really good.
Yeah, and we've spoken about the Portland Trailblazers and their late season shenanigans. We saw it last season. Jeremy Grant is also out at the moment, so that's helped Anthony Simons. I just don't see him shooting at this level. He's never been at this level, and that season average is probably more where we're used to seeing him, to be honest. So, absolute hot streak right now. Plus, you add on the probably late season resting that he will get. There are a lot of trade rumors around Anthony Simons as well, because could he be going to a contender, which would obviously reduce his output. So, a few reasons as to why you want to be selling high on him. He is their best player, so I wouldn't be racing to trade him in a real life sense, but in terms of fantasy, yeah, look to trade and sell high where possible. Zach LaVine, again, we spoke about him on the last show. Is he a sell high, or is this just him now?
I think he's still a sell high. I think some of his numbers are gonna cool down significantly. Like looking at the points, for example, the threes have been pretty on par. Free throw percentage looks good. Field goal has been about the same. It really comes down to averaging like 34 points per game over the past 2 weeks. Even the rebounds are slightly higher than normal. Defensive production is about the same. So yeah, it really comes down to the scoring, which I think will come down.
He's taking more shots. Ayo Dosunmu has been out. I think Kobe White missed yesterday's game as well, so he's taking on more offensive load. But once everyone is back, yeah, I would expect that to cool off. But yeah, 31st on the entire season. Fantastic return to form for Zach LaVine after a whole heap of stick that he got last season. And who knows what will happen around trade deadline. Like, I wouldn't want to be sitting him just because he's so talented and it's great for the Bulls fans. But yeah, who knows what will happen close to trade deadline. Freddie VanVleet, he was often on our buy low list, but now he's on our sell high list. What do you put that down to, Kayla?
I think it also just comes down to injury and maybe just finding his form. So Jabari Smith has been out for a few games now. He's just looked a lot better. He was probably just going through a slump or some kind of something like that. I don't think he's going to finish sixth overall, but I see him in the top 50 for sure. He's
Yeah,
really
that
found his
50,
form offensively too.
he absolutely has that 53.6%, only over 2 games, but that's completely unsustainable. We know that typically he's more like a punt field goal percentage guy, but yeah, 53.6%, even 43.6 is quite good for him comparing it to the rest of the season. So yeah, that's allowed him to boost his points, but he's also looked fantastic in terms of steals as well. So 3 steals per game over the last fortnight is fantastic, even for Freddie VanVleet's lofty standards. Trey Murphy, again, he was on our sell high list, but the Pelicans, even though Herb Jones is gone probably for the season, Zion's returned. Brandon Ingram can't be too far away. I would expect him to probably return to the lineup in the next week, maybe the next couple of games anyway. Trey Murphy is still a must roster guy. By no means are we saying sell him for cheap, but he is not the 8th best fantasy player in the league right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think this is his peak value right here. But like you said, there's a lot of guys who still have to return to the Pelicans. There are still a lot of trade rumors, but that's still going to impact Trey Murphy's value. And I don't see it getting better than this.
Yeah, look, we love Trey Murphy. So if you can't get that trade going, just enjoy it, because he's going to continue giving you top 50, I believe top 50 production for the rest of the season. Desmond Bane, once again, he was on our list last week, but he's still performing at a high level. Ja Morant's now back in the team, so it's tapering off a little bit. But for those that look beyond the last 7 days and not realize that Ja Morant returned, Santi Aldama returned, Marcus Smart is not too far away, I still think the sell high window is there.
I think so too. Like even though Jazz back, I mean his threes are up a lot, and even his defensive production too. I think it helps having that top scorer back with the team, so that way he can focus more of his energy on the defensive end and also taking more threes. So in a way, it's helped him in some categories.
Yeah, and a complete turnaround on where he was at the start of the season. He was often on our buy low list, and he has completely turned it around. Number 56 rank in 9-cat across the course of the season. That's a great return for someone who was really struggling to get inside that top 100 for the first few weeks of the season. Just looking at some trades for Desmond Bane over the last 24 hours. Desmond Bane for Brandon Miller. All right, take me through this one, Kayla. Who are you going for here?
So before I was leaning with Miller, but honestly, I would swing either way. But I do like Miller, so maybe I'm a little biased there.
Yeah, we did discuss this before the show. I know that you like Brandon Miller. I'll probably still go with Bane just because we don't really know what Charlotte's going to do with some of their stars towards the end of the season. I like to play a little bit safer. If someone's or if two guys are of pretty equal value, I'll go for the safer team overall. Desmond Bane or Kawhi Leonard?
This is a very easy one. I'm going Bane.
Yeah, I think so too. Bane or DeJounte Murray?
Bane.
Interesting there. Bane or Jamal Murray?
Still Bane, though I do love
Still
my
Bane.
fellow Canadian, Jamal Murray.
Yeah, and I like Jamal. He had a quieter game yesterday, but yeah, he's looked really good this season, particularly after a lot of concerns coming out of the Olympics. But yeah, good season. I'm going Jamal Murray there. Bane or Jalen Green? I think we know where we're going here.
hmm Bane for
So
sure.
that's Desmond Bane for us. Bane and Van Vliet, very intriguing one.
Bane, Van Vliet has looked a lot better recently. Um, I would go either way on this one.
Yeah, this one may actually come down to your team build in a category sense. In a points league, yeah, maybe Bane. Maybe I would go Bane. And here we go. Bane for Emmanuel
Mhm.
Quickly. We love Emmanuel Quickly, but Bane for Emmanuel Quickly and Bilal Koulibaly.
I'm probably going Bane. I'm just a little bit concerned with the Raptors down the stretch, but Bilal is fantastic. I'd love to have him on my team, but I gotta go Bane.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Bane and Jalen Green for Tyrese Maxey.
Give me Maxi.
Give me Maxey, unless it is, of course, a super, super deep league where we value a lot of depth. But yeah, Maxey in most situations. Okay. Next one, Amen Thompson. This is the last guy on our list. We're saving the best till last. But Amen Thompson,
Mhm.
just look at the last fortnight, but even the last 7 days, just insane value right now.
No, he's looked amazing. I think he's going to be able to sustain this value for quite a while, as long as he's in the starting lineup. I mean, Jabari Smith is expected to miss about 4 to 6 weeks, so long-term value right here.
Where's Tari Eason at as well? Do you see Tari Eason returning anytime soon? And if he does, will that impact Amen Thompson?
I don't know when Tari's going to return. He's been listed as doubtful for the past few games. Of course, we've seen that before with, like you said, Mark Williams. So maybe a return is imminent, but I still don't think it's going to have a significant impact on Amen just because he has that starting role.
Yeah, and the most exciting part of the last 14 days for him is just those minutes per game. So 39.1 minutes per game. We said, and I banged on in the preseason about him only needing probably 26, 27 to give you some 12-team value. That's been proven correct, and now he's just absolutely taken off. So great to see. Plus, like we said with Jalen Green, it's the hype train around the athleticism, the highlight reels. So, yeah, use that to your advantage as well when trying to acquire probably a guy that can sustain top 50 value for the rest of the season.
Mhm.
All right. That's a wrap for this episode, Kayla. Any parting words before we start recording the next one?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just keeping updated with injury news and trade rumors and things like that. A lot of these players that we just talked about are buy lows or sell highs because of injuries, and things like that. And trade rumors are going to be huge for the next couple of weeks and is going to have a big impact on fantasy basketball.
You may be able to actually use that to your advantage as well. For those that do like to listen to these rumors and really take stock in them, use that to your advantage as well. Because more often than not, if you hear that rumor, it probably won't happen in terms of the trade. So use it to your advantage. But yeah, some good advice there. So keep your ears and eyes open for those types of information. But of course, make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Twitter, and X. You can find Kayla at Kayla_Fonte. You can find myself at NBA Fantasy Bible. Don't forget Blue Sky as well for those not quite up to speed on that one. But thank you so much, Kayla. Thank you, guys. And until next
Yeah.
time, see you then.
See ya.